I've been doing. All right, so welcome to the latest Wealth Stackers community call. So, okay, first thing I'm gonna show is how I'm creating content for Stack. At the end of the day, one of the biggest challenges I see going forward with AI is um there's going to be many, many people creating AI content around their products, right? But you're going to have some authenticity too. I think in-person things are going to get to be uh popping again. Like so I'm really looking at what could I do in person, like meetups and stuff like that. But if you're not in the content game, like you already see it with social media, right? The people that do good on social media, it don't even matter what their product is. They got customers because once you're getting millions of views, a percentage of those people will buy anything from you. There's also this rule that I heard two different versions of it. One is if you can get somebody to listen to 13 hours of your content, whether that's written, speaking, or video, like podcasts or video, they will buy from you if they watch 13 hours or listen to 13 hours from you within 13 months. So again, if you think about that in short clips, 30-second clips, that's a lot of clips they will have to watch to get to 13 hours. But if you create long form content, like even what I'm doing right now with this, partly why I'm doing this is I'm putting up these videos for people to if they end up watching a lot of this, then they more than likely are aligned with what we're building here. So they may become customers. And it takes up, because if I got an hour a week of video, that's 52 hours a year of video that only people got to watch 13 hours of the 52, right? So again, that's if you do hour long shit, and hour long shit gets way less views. So partly what I'm trying to do too is I'm trying to create little type story things that I can bring customers through. So what I'm working on right now is this whole idea of real estate versus Bitcoin. So I'm doing a few different things. You can see my screen, right? You guys can see my screen. You can see this Photoshop and everything.
I can see it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can see
okay,
it.
okay. All right, cool. So one of the things I've been doing is I'm going to start creating more long form content around the concept overall. So you guys been around for a while. So you remember I started out by saying, use your money twice, pay your bills and stack, right? But what I've seen is over the years of I'm like almost 2.5 years of talking to people about this, hundreds, if not thousands of people, they don't really understand the bill thing much. People are like, why should I borrow to pay bills? Right. So I've been working with a go-to-market coach, and he's been telling me, look, you many people build something at first with the idea that people will use it a certain way, but then you have to watch how people actually use it, and you may need to shift. So what I'm seeing in the data is most people, they just use it to leverage up. They don't even use it to pay bills. They borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin, right? So if they put $100, they'll borrow extra 250, and now they basically buy $350 of Bitcoin or Ethereum or both. So that's where I started to come up with the idea of that's a lot like real estate, right? Like if you think about it, when you buy a property, you're putting down 20% and the bank is lending you 80. So you end up owning this asset where you really borrowed 80% to own it, and then you're going to pay it down over time. And the idea is that property's value will grow over time and you pay down the loan. So you end up growing your net worth, right? So I'm like, why wouldn't we do that with Bitcoin and Ethereum if it grows faster? Of course, it's more volatile, and you don't have to deal with any of the bullshit you have to deal with real estate, right? Like you fucking got tenants that are pains in the ass, or you lose your job, or Airbnb's not doing well, or your roof fucking fucks up and you gotta spend $12,000, right? So it's like all these things. I think the real estate of the future is Bitcoin. So I've been playing around with this idea of creating content around it. So one thing is I'm creating like a slideshow where I will go over the idea and I'll talk it out. That'll be another long form content. This probably will be like 10-20 minutes of me talking because again, got to get to 13 hours before somebody wants to, they trust you enough as an individual or personal brand to buy from you. So I think, a lot of us are, even me early on, it's not normal for you to want to talk into a camera, like this is easier because I'm like talking to you guys, like I know you guys, some of you, I know Jason now. I've met Jason many times on Zoom because he's a Stack customer, but I never met him in person. But still, when we talk, it's easier than you just talking into a void like a psychopath, right? So what I got to is, I said, what if I create like slideshows, like if I was doing a speech? I've
Let
done
me,
many speeches. Yeah,
let
that
me
what?
ask,
Yeah.
yeah, let me ask this because you're just starting this presentation. So what are you trying to tell me with this idea is real estate better than Bitcoin? You're basically trying to tell me not to invest in real estate and I'm better off putting my money in Bitcoin.
Kind of. What I'm getting to is, okay, you're about to invest in a asset to make you money, right? Because again, not to
Correct.
say if you're going to buy a house to live in, that's a whole different thing. I don't even consider that really an investment. It's more like a life choice that
Mhm.
could end up being a money pit depending on where you buy and all these different things.
Correct.
But if you're going to take money to buy real estate as an asset, like I did for DR with the
Hmm.
Airbnb, I think when you look at both options, you will see that
Hmm.
fucking just owning Bitcoin is way fucking easier and
Right.
fucking more profitable. And I
Hmm.
saw that over the last 5 years. Of course, who knows if that continues though? That's the risk here, right? The idea is that you are betting that Bitcoin keeps growing at a higher rate than the cash on cash return that real estate will give you, right?
Right.
So that's the overall concept. But what this is the long form. So basically what I've been doing is I've been trying to play around in ChatGPT with images and a story, right? So I got this thing called Story Spark. You can go to storyspark.pro. It's a free GPT. You would have to have ChatGPT to get it though. And it's basically a thing that will help you create storyboards and a story around the concept. So I may have spoken about this on previous community calls, but I took like the top podcasts around storytelling and I exported a bunch of PDFs and I like transcribed all the podcasts, all the videos that I thought were really helpful around storyboarding and creating stories, and I basically put them all into this custom GPT so you can ask it questions and it will answer you based on all that information, and then you can even create storyboards. So like I won't take you through the whole ones, but I've been doing this like with multiple versions, and then I got to basically a script that I like so far, and then I was thinking, okay, what style of video would I want? So I thought like at first I did it more like Pixar, right? Where it looked like nice 3D. But then I said, you know what? That's not like exciting enough. So I was like, I want to kind of make it look like a Dragon Ball Z type fight because again, I think the age range I'm dealing with here, most of my customers are in the like 30s to 50s, and I think we all grew up in that time where this was kind of popular. So it would be cool to show a fight between real estate and Bitcoin. And what I would do is highlight those differences, right? Like, um, what was the first one? He was like, "Look, I'm safe. You can live in me and watch me grow." Right? Things, I mean, I'm trying to make it not cheesy and corny, but I'm playing around with the concept, right? So I went to school for animation, so a lot of times whenever I did jobs like in the field, the script already came to me, already, done and signed off on, and we had to create the storyboards and the animation. So scripting is pretty new to me, but thank God for ChatGPT, and I'm going back and forth with it a lot. So again, I don't know where it's at yet. I'm kind of liking it, but what I'm starting to do now is storyboard each shot. So see how it says shot one, and again, the Story Spark did all this for me, where it's like shot one, dramatic anime style boxing. Because I said make it anime style, Bitcoin versus real estate or a home investment. Give me a script that is exciting and a fight between, and of course incorporate Stack.ai in a like subtle way so it's not an obvious ad, right? So I'm giving you stuff that I'm working on. Again, any questions around it, nowhere near done. But the idea of at the end of the day, with a $20 subscription, you can do all this crazy stuff. Of course, I pay the higher number, because I'm like asking this stuff all day. But any questions around anything I just said? Basically, I'm using it to create the slideshow, create a story around, and basically a series of ads is my goal. Is to have a series of Bitcoin versus real estate ads where because again, there's another thing. Omar, you're very like uh experienced with marketing, right? They say you want to create an enemy, right? And you almost want to repel people who are your enemy. So you take those 20% that are your true believers. So I was like, in a way, real estate is the true competitor to other than stock, right? But stock is not, I don't think stock has many of those true believers, right? There's those real estate people, they will not get off that real estate shit, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna go right at them. Because again, stock I think is
Well, you hit on a bunch of different assets in like one thought.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so I think it would be beneficial, like you said, there's the diehards. So it would be beneficial to weigh out the pros and cons of the Bitcoin and real estate. And like you said, to find that commonality of why you would be investing in either of these two assets as opposed to, say, stocks. I think that's the narrative that you would have to kind of, you know, the narrative that you'd have to market per se.
Yeah. I guess
Because I think if you look at me, you, and the other three people here, Derek and Jason, if we're already talking and interested in Bitcoin, that means we're already diversifying our assets in a sense. I'm on another group. I have not joined their video stuff. I just read their emails, but that's particularly all real estate, and they go into a lot of detail and minutia things that I never knew existed within the real estate investing landscape and the way
Mhm.
they do it because they're, like you said, they're hardcore real estate investors. That's their bread and butter. They understand that like the back of their hand, and they're not going to deviate from that asset that they've invested in. I'm in a group like you guys where I have my stocks and I have tenants in one of my properties now, which is great. And I'm also invested in Bitcoin. So I'm
So
never
you
gonna
are you are pretty diverse, right? Like at the end of the day,
I think that, and I think that's where trying to tell me to kind of
pick one.
pick one over the
Yeah,
other is very
yeah.
difficult. It's even with my mom. Like my mom's even more old school, right? So my mom is now like Paco's age. I wish she was on the call because my mom is like approaching like 80 now. She
Uh,
just turned 79 2 weeks ago. She's healthy as fuck. Her mental state is healthy. I can't ask for anything more from my mom, but she's not going to change in how she invests.
sure.
So if I talk to her Bitcoin, that's over her head. She's not doing that. But she's been a long time investor in gold. So she's always on top of like the gold programs, how much the prices fluctuates. And that's amazing. So if I could grab some of that and then put into Bitcoin, I would. But what I'm getting at with this analogy is that she's never going to deviate from the gold and go into Bitcoin, even though you and I are now in this mindset of digital gold, it's Bitcoin, not regular gold. And I've seen also on YouTube and other investors who are like, they stick to one thing that they know. A lot of these old school guys are going to stay in their index funds. They're going to stay in that stock market that they know. So I think you have to have like a two-prong attack on like, you know, you can keep if you want to do real estate, sure, but diversify your portfolio. Like here's 20% in real estate, here's, maybe 60% in crypto assets, and here's another 20% in, more stocks or something else. Because I think you have to have that balance of a diversified portfolio because, again, crypto could easily drop
Yep,
80%
80%, hundred
on the,
percent.
on the on the small on the smallest news. Again, Israel just, I mean, Iran just attacked Israel. That was a big thing
It
on
held up pretty
Friday.
good though. I thought it would tank
I
today.
thought it would tank on too on Friday. The markets held up, all the markets held up really well, and now they're bouncing back today. Bitcoin's back at 108. So it's great to see. I think the audience is a key factor in this kind of.
So
and
that's
I'm patient.
right. So what they teach you in the startup world is you can't go after everybody in the beginning. You
Right.
have to kind of find your super duper niche. So
Hmm.
partly what I've been seeing as I grow the customer base is most of the customer base are real estate investors.
Mm.
It's really interesting because they immediately understand the borrow thing.
Yeah.
When I get a person who's not in real estate, they're like, why should I borrow? I don't think I should borrow. I don't, borrowing is not good. But real estate people know you borrow to build your portfolio, right? That's
Right.
the game. But everybody not real estate, even a lot of stock people don't really know that. So I find it harder to convert those people. So
Right.
that was where I was like, all right, what could I do to get the real estate person's attention, but also keep building up the people who are already in the crypto market idea. Also, what I was
Mm.
thinking about as you were talking was you're you're really advanced, right? Like you got to take it back to imagine you were just starting right now. You didn't have the money you have, you didn't have
Hmm.
the assets you have, and you were building up from scratch right now with $100 a month. You can't
Yeah.
buy real estate.
No.
You know what I mean? You will have to
Yeah.
choose between stock and crypto. And
OnlyFans all day.
only
This is easy.
how do your toes look?
Yeah, exactly. Easy. Easy startup right there.
Business too, right?
My
Of course.
iPhone and my toes. That's it.
So this is where like partly what I'm going for is I'm kind of trying to make people see that idea of because again, they say, diversify, but diversify is really to protect your wealth.
Mm,
It's not to build wealth. If you
mm,
look that up, like a lot, it took me a long time, like researching that, because I also was trying to do that. And when I realized was when I made the Airbnb call, it was me thinking like that. I was like, you know what? I got some crypto. I have a 401k. It's kind of bullshit. I got this money. What am I gonna do with it?
mm,
Should I diversify into heavy crypto and still have, and it was like, you know what? I said, let me do the safe thing. Let me get the Airbnb with the rental income.
mm.
Man, if I would have done something, if I would have put it in Bitcoin, Ethereum, I would have millions of dollars. That the
Right.
rental property doubled, yeah, but nowhere near what Bitcoin alone 20x, right?
Mm,
So the idea is I'm trying to get people right now who feel fucked because that's another thing they say for startups or business in general. You want to find the customers that you're solving their, they call it hair on fire problem. Like if your hair is on fire right now, you need a glass of water. If I'm like, yo, I got this glass of water, it costs $5. You're like, I'll pay anything. Give me that glass of water so I can take,
mhm,
right? So to me, a person like you don't have a hair on fire problem because you got all these assets. You're pretty good. Now it's just maintaining and growing it to the pace you want. But
mm,
if you were like me, where I felt like, fuck, I haven't invested enough
mm.
to retire. Like I know it. When
Yeah.
after I saw my dad and I'm like, yo, my dad did everything they tell people to do.
Right.
And even
Same. Well,
him,
let me ask you this then. So what about the if we're just starting out, what is it what is the target audience then? Are you talking to, say, like a college kid who's now making a decent income, who's looking to finally invest? Or are you looking with someone who's maybe like maybe middle aged, say like 35 and up,
that's what I'm
who,
looking at.
right,
That's
right.
what I'm
Okay,
looking at.
so my ex-girlfriend at the my ex-girlfriend was like what you just described about your dad. Very by the books. She's 401k, always maxed out the 401k. She's gonna have a pension when she gets out of her gig. But she never invested into stocks, never did any kind of crypto, never did anything outside of what was programmed by her
Job.
employer, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
But she's sitting on a lot of cash. So her thing is real estate. She understands, like, I think everybody understands the idea of real estate.
It's
So I
safe. It
told
is the
her,
safest thing.
but
Yeah.
what I told her was, so I told her, I was like, well, she had a condo, right? Which is good. So she already has one property and it's in an area where if she wanted to move out, she can easily rent it out to another family here upstate in Westchester.
Hmm.
So I told her, I was like, well, how about, which is what I'm trying to get to you. Like, I think you have to slowly edge them into this because it's so foreign to them, even as an adult like her, who has a secure nest egg of sorts, right? So I was trying to tell her she didn't want to do crypto because obviously that's so
Super
risky for
risky.
people when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
hear
yeah.
it. So I
Yeah,
told her,
yeah.
like, okay, well, you have your one property. How about you take, can you spare $5,000 and then I will help you build a stock portfolio that you can monitor, that you can like be a part of, and like don't get rattled if it drops within the first couple of weeks you have it, but look at it long term. And so she was kind of playing with that idea. I also told a good friend of mine who's really well off at his job. He's making, again, upwards of 250 plus a year, never invested in any kind of stocks or any kind of other investment outside of real estate. He owns two properties now, but it's slow. He spent a decade saving up for his second property, and now he's only renting that out. So I think it comes
Yeah,
down to
and that's the
personal
thing,
temperature.
right?
Yeah, like you gotta. I think part of what you're saying here, you're talking to a person like me and you, but how do you get the people who are not, like you just said, not familiar with any type of investing outside of what their employer has told them to do? Like what's their risk? Could you have like a risk analysis kind of
So what
slide
you just
maybe?
made
Like,
me
hey,
think
what's your
about.
risk tolerance? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because this is definitely on the high end of the risk tolerance, right? For sure. It's the highest end of the risk tolerance. Partly that's why I need to go after the people who have the hair on fire, right? Because if you have already a few real estate properties, you have some stock, maybe a 401k, your hair's not on fire like the person that's realizing, shit, I'm 35 and I haven't saved at all for my retirement. What the fuck am I gonna do? Because now when I go to these calculators, it tells me I need to invest $1,000 a month to be able to retire at 65 like everybody else because I didn't invest for 15 years of my career. So that's where what they this partly goes back to. It says, okay, find the first 1,000 people that have the hair on fire, then you'll get to the next round of. They basically say like find a niche and then your niche expands. So like the people you're talking about, I think they're more on the outside of my peripheral right now. And again, this shifts, right? At the end of the day, I'm guessing, and this is where like as entrepreneurs, this is what we got to do. We got to guess at who is the person that will convert the fastest, right? Of course, a person like you're talking about, it may take me a year for them to convert. I got to get the person that's like, so the other day, somebody reached out from Australia. This guy was like 50 something. I would say maybe 54, 55. He found me somehow. I'm putting content everywhere. I don't even know. He was like, hey, I would like to set up a call with you. He set it up for Father's Day. So I emailed him at night, like at 9 o'clock at night, like, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I kept my calendar open during Father's Day. Can you pick another time? And he goes, can you call me right now? So I was like, all right. So 9 o'clock at night, I'm on a Zoom call with this guy for an hour and a half because his hair was on fire. He's like, dude, I'm mid 50s. I had real estate. I don't think it's gonna get me to where I gotta go. I saw what you do. I want to learn more. So I'm explaining it to him. He's like, all right, so if I bring in $150, I can invest $500 a month. And I was like, yeah, let's show you. So I showed him and he was like, all right, let's do it right now. And I'm like, well, you will have to have XYZ. He was like, all right, so I'm going to convert some stuff over and can we meet again tomorrow? That motherfucker's hair was on fire, right? Like, he saw something I was talking about and he came to me like, yo, can we meet right now? And that's the type of person again. And I don't need millions of those people. If I have 1,000 people like him, this business is amazing. Of
Mhm.
course, if I get 10,000, a million, right? That's good. But what they say is you find 100 people like him, then you go to 1,000 people that may be a little bit further out, 10,000 a little further out, 10 million that are a little further out, shit like that, right? So for me, what you just made me think about, and I appreciate you, for your conversation, is I could treat this like Showtime boxing, right? There's different fighters. One fighter's stock, one fighter's real estate, one
Mhm.
fighter is bonds, one fighter is Ethereum, right? And then we just create a series of fights that basically explain the pros and cons to each. And of course, we don't like make one automatically win, but
Right.
in the content, we let people decide who you think is going to win, right?
Right.
Who do you think if you only could invest in one? Because that's the big thing that I learned with the whole diversified thing. They say, okay, until you are at your portfolio goal, diversification is actually not good because you're not going to make, he said, again,
Mm-hmm.
this is Michael Saylor and people like that,
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yeah,
even
they talk about just the focus, right?
Warren Buffett says it too. He's like, if
Yeah,
you really, really believe in something, why are you going to diversify? That
right.
means you're going to make a lot less money.
Mm-hmm.
And look at Warren Buffett. He doesn't do real estate. Of course, he doesn't do crypto. But again, he has an eye for real estate. I mean, for stock that we don't. And he also spent 50 years buying it. So compound interest over 50 years is almost impossible not to be rich, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, his level rich, not everybody, but it's almost hard to not reach $1 million if you compound over 5 decades, right? Like that shit is
Right.
crazy. So at the end of the day, part of what, and I'm glad we had this conversation and thank you. What I think now is it's less about just focusing on real estate and showing all the different asset classes and saying, what do you think? Because I've done this research myself and I've actually bought each asset class and I've come to the conclusion I don't think stock is going to get me to my goal. Unless I fucking am lucky enough to pick Nvidia and it compounds for 50 years. Um, I don't think real estate. I did it, and the cash on cash return, even on a vacation rental, did not make sense. Like if you're bringing in 300 grand to make $500 a month, that 300 grand compounding will do better than the cash on cash return every year with less headache, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I could be wrong. There's definitely people who have managed it right and have grown their portfolio, but again, over decades. You know what I mean? Like you just said, your friend, it took him a few years to get that second property. That's how it works. Most of these people, it takes at least 10 years to grow a portfolio that starts to give you enough so you can leave your job.
Right.
So if your hair's on fire right now and you're like, fuck, I only have 10 years to retire, you ain't fucking gonna be able to do the real estate thing,
Mm,
right?
I see
So,
what you're
so
saying.
this is where like part of me is like, okay, I gotta figure out, and this is where this is one of my ideas. It's I gotta have many. I'm trying to put things out there that'll bring people back, and I have like a lead magnet and all that, so people land, they go through that, they get on a call with me. I got the community that they when they join the community, they get on a call with me. I put out content every day, but I gotta do more video and I gotta get into the groove of creating more videos, short and long form. So this is where I'm bringing this up because I think whatever your business is, the fact that now you have these tools that literally, Omar, you used to get paid to do shit like this, right? Imagine how much you would have charged for somebody to create storyboards like this for them, right? You
Yeah.
would have charged
Thousands.
thousands of
Yeah.
dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 100%. And like I was lucky enough to, I used to get these storyboards done and then I had to animate them.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I see the actual amount of work, I'm like, oh my God. Before they gave me all this, I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with this. But now I have to learn the story, I have to learn the storyboarding, process more character creation, all that. But it's fun. I like it. It's fun. But I think all of us, I think if you can think about it and you say, what's this version for my product or my service? And start playing with it now because of course it's gonna take time. You know what I mean? Like even me, I've been playing with this idea for a few weeks and thinking in the back of my mind for months. Look, I got HeyGen. I'll show you. Look, I got HeyGen. I did another concept where I was thinking is hilarious. How did people spend money throughout history? Right? So I was like, what if I create like a time traveler that goes through different parts in history and tries to spend money? So people can see why Bitcoin is so easy. But then I was like, I don't really think that's starting to bring the hair on fire people to me. It's just more education, which is good. Of course, we need it, but it's not going to convert. It's a long-term thing, right? Because if I have to educate you on why you want to use the product, you're not my customer right now. You may be my customer in 5, 10 years, and I'm fine with that. But right now, I need to get to people that already understand this, already understand why they need it, and I don't need that many of them. There's fucking billions of people on this planet. I just need 1,000, right? So that's where it's like, all right, I need to focus on that. And I bring that up because I wonder if you guys are thinking like this. And if you are, if we could talk it through for your ideas, I would like to see if I can help you and the group can help you in thinking like that. And if you haven't yet, that's fine too. Maybe come back next week thinking like that because I think businesses in general that don't take advantage of this video stuff you're going to be at a massive disadvantage to anybody else who does. Because what, look at you, Omar, you have a personal brand, right? People know you for design. I know you for 25 years for
Mhm.
design. And probably everybody who knows you because of that. That's how you get most of your work, right? Oh, my
Right.
man Omar does that here, right? But now imagine that on steroids where you get even 100
Yeah,
videos.
you're no, you're preaching to the choir at this point because most of my work and my where I like to play at is static imagery. I've never taken to video at all, never done any kind of like editing, always refused it. Even though my a lot of my friends from SVA, they were all doing motion graphics. But now to see the motion take over at Instagram, which is where I stay in the most, or even TikTok, and like having these, AI generated clips now is just it's phenomenal, and like you said, the ease of which you're creating that also helps. And so now I have other friends who are literally in the movie business, who are now switching over. They're directors or they're producers, and they're like, "Yo, I got to learn this AI stuff just for myself," so they don't need the team anymore because they know at some point they're going to be replaced by a younger
Oh
kid
man, oh man.
who's just
So
doing this. And so like this is again, I think in the beginning of the conversation, this hair on fire concept is kind of like we're all feeling it now, and like we can't ignore it, especially anyone who's a creator in some sense. It's just
100%. And
you just can't, and it's
but you
impossible.
said for you, because your eye is already very skilled at seeing what looks good. You did
Right.
photography plus visual,
Mhm.
graphic design. Dude, these apps, man. Look,
I
I
know.
mean, I
I've been messing with
paid,
Kling AI too. It's
dude, like I paid, I think I caught the sale. I paid $500 for the year. I get 8,000 credits. That gets you like hundreds of videos a
Does it
week.
help with the what do you call it, the render speed? Because when I was on the free one, it was like, oh, this is gonna take 3 hours to render. I'm like, I ain't got 3 hours right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Hold
it
on a minute.
does. It does. They
And
give you
and
the
all I wanted
fast
to do was
track.
make take one of my images and just make it into a motion. I gave it a prompt, just like animate it, and it said 3 hours. I was like, I don't want to do that right
Yeah,
now.
that's because look for the I paid this one. I caught it on sale
Mhm.
for like 500, and look, fast track generation.
Mm.
And again, I'm treating it. This is another thing I tell people because it's so easy to make renders here. You could blow these credits mad quick,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
You could be like, oh, let me try, and then you wasted all your credits.
Yeah, Adobe was
What
doing
you
that for a little bit too, and
what?
I think that went away because people were like, "Oh, we can't even do like edits. Like, how do we do the undos? You guys are killing me." So,
So the real
let me
thing
ask you
is,
this,
go ahead, go
because
ahead.
you're talking about concepts and tools and your storyboards and what you're doing. Have you found anything in here that will now automate the process of uploading to, say, like Instagram or TikTok, where you go, "Okay, here's my weekly schedule. I need to upload a piece of content Monday, Wednesday, Friday."
Yes,
Have you found a bot to do that?
there's a few apps that do stuff like that. One I think is called Blotato. This will post to social media accounts. See, 40
So
social
that's
media
cool.
accounts. Um, there's different, these are called agents, right? There's ways you could build your own agents. There's one called N8N, 8N,
Blotato, like
blow,
potato, but blotato, bloat.
potato, yeah, blotato, like potato,
There you
yeah.
go, blotato. Yeah, yeah.
N8N is an AI agent framework where you can say if this happens, then do this, and you can connect your different social media and stuff like that. And Blotato kind of uses this. And there's another one called Make.com,
Mm,
which is the same thing. You connect all your platforms. It's kind of like Zapier, you know Zapier,
no.
where Zapier basically connects your different let's say MailChimp, uh I don't know, Google Docs, and it says anytime I make a Google Doc and I name it dot email, Zapier, can you take that, put it in MailChimp for me and make that an email? So it's like an automation based on a specific I don't know how to word it, but like a specific action. So once you see this action taken on this platform, then take this action. And it
Hmm.
automates that and you pay Zapier. But Make does that in an autonomous kind of way where you can like have it continuously just watch and wait to do things.
So then
This
I would just throw in my my content into this, and they would just wait.
Yeah, you basically actually this will fucking make content for you automatically. Like you can say, yo, I'm going to send you a script, s- create an image for each slide of the script, like each line in the script, create a voiceover, create an image per, animate this shit. I mean, there's people doing wild stuff, but again, it's very early, so it's like a nerd fest, right? Like I don't think
Hmm.
even me, sometimes I'm coming there, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that shit. This is too much. I'm not doing it. Right.
Right.
But I think it'll get easier and easier and easier. So the earlier you start playing around with, to me, the biggest challenge now is storytelling because now that anybody can go here, pay fucking $20 and make random clips like this. Now the next thing is, okay, what's a random clip versus a story? If you could create a story that keeps people's attention, you're gonna get more video plays than a random clip that people are just like, all right, that was cool, but next, right? Because the story, the whole thing, the reason they call it drama is because there's something about to happen that keeps people wanting to watch, right? Like stories are not boring, like, oh, the person did this, then they did that. There's always some shit happens that makes you want to keep watching. So that's where I'm like, all right, I need to study storytelling because making anything, any kind of story is going to be, every kind of shot is going to be easy now. It's about how can I keep people engaged and tell a story that people enjoy. So that's where the way we used to do it back in the 3D animation days is we used to have to send renders out to render farms because as you said back in the day, one frame, if you try to render that shit on your computer at 3D, it could take fucking 24 hours per frame and it's 30 frames per second. So you couldn't even do it on your own computer. You had to send it out to render farms that they had these massive, crazy, powerful machines, and they'd be like, all right, you'll get it back in 3 days. It's gonna cost you $1,000. Right. And we used to have to do that because there was no way the client was going to get their, the deadline in advertising and advertising agencies is like, all right, we need this by next week because we have a campaign going on TV and all that shit, right? So it's like, yeah, well, it's taking me 30 hours per frame, so you're not going to get it. They ain't having that. So we had to find render farms. So now what I'm telling people who do this is treat it the same way, concept the whole thing out. And if you're doing video like that looks real, think about it like film production, right? Like you wouldn't go out, hire a film crew, and just start filming. You would plan out each shot, get the director of photography to map out how everything's gonna look before you go out and shoot. And that's how you save money, right? Because I've done $100,000, multi-$100,000 productions, and I wasn't going to shoot without knowing. Because again, that was costing me every day it's going to cost me money. So I think what this is happening right now, and I know a lot of people using it, I'm like, dude, you're burning through your credits because you're not treating it the same way as old school. We wouldn't shoot shit without knowing the full plan. And if you're just gonna keep burning, I know people spending thousands of dollars a month on credits. And I'm like, the only reason you're doing that is because you're not planning out your shots and your storyboard. So that's stuff that I would tell you if you start playing with this. And Derek has a background in film. Like I remember you took a film class and all that stuff, and you were actually shooting out in the field, so you know that world pretty good. And you did some script writing, so um, for you it's pretty natural. But for new entrants into this world, like now that you have these powerful tools, the easy thing is just to fucking blow your credits, making cool images, and not really telling a story. And I think that's gonna hurt people. And then the next thing, any questions around that? But the next thing I want to show you guys is pretty fucking crazy. So, all right, so I'm going to show you the outcome. So, you see this chart and all this? Basically, one of our challenges at Stack is people don't understand what's happening to their portfolio as time passes, whether they deposit money or not. And of course, since we got the loan, sometimes we need to protect that loan. So when that happens, if the price is falling and we need to protect, we end up having to sell some assets. So one of the challenges as a CEO product guy is hearing feedback from customers and then giving that feedback to my team to build what will solve the problem for the customer. So what this Lovable thing does, Lovable.app, I'll show you the actual interface to it. This Lovable thing does is it's kind of like a developer for front end that will let you create what you're trying to figure out. So for instance, when I started this, I'll go all the way back to the first thing. Actually, no, I didn't keep everything, huh? So basically, I'm just having conversations with this. If you look at this, this is me talking to it and saying, look, customers have been telling me they don't fully understand why we had to sell some of their assets. So the reason is when the price falls and their loan is too close, we either have to sell their assets or they're going to be liquidated, right? Like there's no like other option other than repaying the loan, selling the asset. And right now we didn't have the capability of repaying loan because we never planned to. But now we just added the capability of repaying loans. So it's still the issue is when you look at this, and it's still literally I've been spending like I spent like a day playing around with it. But my hope is now having a chart like this, people can see, okay, look, and then the idea is to see when they made deposits, right? Because again, one of the other challenges I have is some people are very consistent, and the people who are consistent, they do well. Some people are not. So when they're not consistent, they'll come back to their wallet and they're like, oh, I expect it to be up a lot more. But the reason was, let's say there was a fall in price and we needed like right here, there could have been a fall in price right here, and we needed to protect the loan. So we had to sell the asset and dollar cost average back in. But at that moment, the price fell and we lost some value, right? So let's say, make the math easy. You had $100,000 portfolio, you had an $80,000 loan, and the price nosedive, like you said, Omar, early in the call, like it could go down 80% quick. So if it falls and it touches that area that we've set to protect you, you basically had to sell at that loss to protect the loan. But that also means you have less money now to buy back in. So the idea is as the prices are going up, that's the time to choose what to do because it's not a good time to choose when the prices are down. It's a good time to choose when the prices are up. So if you went up and the value went up, now that's the time to sell, take profit, pay down the loan, or both, because then when the prices fall, you have cash to buy back in, or you have more of a health score protection. So I've been struggling to figure out how I can show that to customers, and I've been going back with my like UX design people, with my developers, and nothing has come back that makes sense. So I'm like, oh, with this Lovable thing, I could just bother this AI 24 hours a day until because again, I'm like sometimes it feels like you're talking to a wall when you're talking to people and they don't understand you, right? And you kind of get to this point where you're like, all right, let me stop bothering this person because I could tell they're getting upset. They don't understand me. I'm getting upset because they don't understand me. But when you deal with AI, there's nobody to get upset. You can have 1,000 different questions and stuff. So I did this in very little time. And now I'm showing this to my team and I'm saying, okay, you see how now I can show the month and you could zoom into the month and see what happened on that month. Because again, there is a difference between full year and month. And then you see these jumps. That's because in September, the person deposited money. And look, I'm making like a little icon that says when they borrowed, it'll be a dollar with flying wings. And when they deposited cash, it'll be a money bag. So these are little concepts I'm playing around with that would take me so much longer going back and forth with people. And this is where I'm really worried about the job thing because I play around with this stuff and I could see how you're gonna need a lot less people down to almost needing very almost nobody. So I'll give you guys a little bit more understanding of the tech side. So in ChatGPT, there's this thing called Codex. So, and Omar, I remember working with you. You were one of the people, you would get a design, you would hit me up so I could code it. But if you had this, you would have never had to even reach out to me because you would just put that design here and you would say, can you actually, you would have probably did Lovable at first. You would have went to Lovable, uploaded your design and said, code me the homepage. And it would have done it in 5 seconds.
Hmm.
and you would have needed me, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
And
what's happening.
it's amazing as a as a small student myself, I've already cut out the need for talking to copywriters because
Yeah,
ChatGPT does it.
yeah.
This is the next step. I don't have it yet, but like this has already been part of the prevalence of sites like Squarespace and Webflow
True, true.
where you don't need the
Yeah, the
developers
crazy
anymore
design. Yeah.
because as a designer, I just plug it in there, the CSS is already automatically written and then we're done. You know, site's already up and built. So
Yo, this last week, I got a friend that's helping my son get into the music business. You know him, Swift Gabi.
yeah,
So he hits me up and he's like, "Yo, I need a website. You still charging crazy?" I'm like, "Yo, to be honest, you could do
nope.
that shit yourself."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Nah, I don't want to do it." So I was like, "All right, you know what? When my son is in the studio with you,
Mhm.
we'll just go off to the side. I'll build your website." I built his website in like fucking 10 minutes, Squarespace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and if you don't adjust and you still
Well,
out there
it's
trying to charge fucking crazy prices, you're fucked. You
yeah,
know
if
what I
you're
mean?
not, yeah, man, it's like it's a hard thing to kind of validate prices now because of what you just said. So again, you know, if you go back 20 years, like me and you, right, you go like, oh, we need a team to make a website, was the case. And so you could justify, say,
Yeah, you could say
100,
it.
200,
Yeah,
300
yeah,
grand for like a
yeah,
website, enterprise level, not like, you know, independent, you know, mom and pop shop level. But now that price has gone down. So unless you're operating on an enterprise level where you have, instead like another Fortune 500 company speaking to an agency, those prices are going to be coming down a lot. And so it went from like 100K on average to 20K to now 15K. And now clients are so savvy, they're like, you're like, oh, I can go to Squarespace. I'm like, if you want to do that, do that. But now for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah, I'll for that budget, now I will go to Squarespace and
And
I
I'll
will build
make it
that
look
site.
amazing. Exactly,
Right, for like five,
exactly,
6K. And then, like you said, it takes me a couple
exactly,
hours. And like that to me is
exactly.
now the hour that I'm spent working on it now reflects
So
the
what
budget
you're
they
taking
want.
advantage of is what they call the knowledge arbitrage, right? Like
Right.
you have an eye for design that you spent decades, making
Yeah.
better and better.
Owning. Yeah.
So they now are paying you for that taste that they know I'm not Omar. I'm not going to be able to fucking see what he sees.
Right.
But what's happening now is that these fucking lovable and stuff like that, they're taking even that away. Because you can just say, all right, Omar has a good design style. The only thing I think about that's a person like you, and I talk to anybody who's like in design animation, I'm like, you almost got to create a look that people come to you for,
Yeah.
like a style almost, because almost everything else, right? Like what's the normal agency play, right? Okay, come to me, I'll give you three different design styles, you'll pick one and we'll build that. Well, now it's like, well, I can find design styles all over the internet and just put that shit in Lovable. And then I'm gonna show you this. This is fucking nuts. They just updated this on Friday. So you put into ChatGPT, this is like a little advanced for code people, but you connect it to your GitHub and you give it the problem you're trying to solve, and it has access to your full code base. A fucking AI that is a PhD level coder, top 100 coder in the world right now, eventually is going to get to like top five coder in the world. I think they say by the time ChatGPT comes out, it's going to be like a top five coder, competitive coder, right? It
Right.
goes through your code base and it makes four different versions of a what they call pull request of an update to the code that you can try and see if it does what you needed. So like if I said, hey, on the Stack site right now, the connect wallet button is broken. Can you figure out why? It was working yesterday, and this fucking happens all the time, right? And what it ends up being is one of the APIs changed some shit. APIs means like we work with a certain company that does the wallets and they just updated something. So we have to figure out what they updated, how to fix it, and test it. So right now, I got human beings doing that. But what this will do is I could just say that to this. It creates four different pull requests for us to review. So what does that mean for a developer? Before, I would have to code this whole thing. I would have to look it up, code it, test it myself, get to a point where it looks good, it works, then deploy it. So when I was an entry level developer, I would work with very high end people and I would be the first person that would try it. They'd be like, hey, Miguel, can you try to fix that button? So I would go try to figure it out, spend like a day, maybe two. But now, why the hell do I need that entry level person? I don't. I just need somebody to review the four versions that ChatGPT gave me. And ChatGPT is one of many of these. Stack right now, we have one, two, three. We have four different things like this that are just going through our code base, trying to find problems that we've given it to solve without human beings. And then when we get the fucking the pull request, we get to look and say, all right, wait, that could break something. Let's fix that. So I had a nonprofit reach out to me last week and they train developers. And there's a bunch of nonprofits like this around the country that they're trying to train people in the skill sets of the future. And what was the big one, right? Development. So they're like, look, we train people and we need to place our people. That's why the nonprofit raises money so we could train them so they can go get jobs. But we haven't really been able to get them jobs. And I'm like, oh yeah, how much percent do you have to hit in job placement? They were like 75%. I was like, that's impossible. Whoever said that, they must have known they were lying when they said it, but whatever. So she was like, can I place some with you or maybe some of the nonprofits you work with? So I said, okay, so I'll think about it over the weekend. So I'm thinking about it over the weekend and I'm like, why the hell would I bring a person on to do that when they're not going to be as fast as the AI? They're entry level beginner, so they're not as good as ChatGPT right now. So that means I gotta pay somebody on my team to babysit this person, teach this person. That means that person is not gonna be working on stuff that's important to my business. Why would I do that? And if you think about that as that scales, that's gonna happen for copywriting. You said it, Omar. It's gonna kind of happen to graphic design. It's already happening for code. This is a crazy situation. This is where I think we need to really get into entrepreneurship and say, okay, what is the challenge I'm solving? Instead of who can I get to pay me for my arbitrage of knowledge that they don't have? Like you, Omar, you have a visual
Mhm.
design knowledge that you are getting paid to supplement for
Right.
for your client. Eventually, and again, I don't know how long this might last years, but eventually it's going to get there where they can say, that's good enough. I don't have to pay Omar $6,000. I'll pay this $20 a month.
Well, you
And
know that already happens when people had always come to, or with me, I have clients or people you can tell when I've done redesigns. They're like, how do you get this logo? Oh, yeah, I had my cousin do it. Or, oh, I found something online. And they just swipe something and it's not the correct format. So, like you said, there's always going to be those people who will find a way to do it themselves.
I
And you
just
can
think
tell
you
that's an amateur doing it.
100%. And that's the thing, right? At the end of
Right.
the day, this is what I tell people. And this is what I told that person. I said, look, to be honest, I didn't raise money for Stack. So I wouldn't exist if I didn't learn how to take advantage of all these coding, all this AI
Mhm.
and remote workers, right? I got team members around the world. If I had to hire people in New York City to build Stack, it wouldn't exist because I wouldn't have been able to pay for it. Like literally, you know how it is in New York City, it's expensive. You got to pay somebody freaking crazy
Premium
money to live
prices.
here, right?
Yeah.
Right. So literally it wouldn't exist. So now what does that mean? To a person that doesn't have the money, doesn't have the skill, doesn't have the knowledge, now really it becomes a how much do you want to fight with AI till it's done versus go off and raise money and then find people that can be trusted to do it.
Right.
And I think once people realize that trade-off, I'm telling you, I've managed hundreds of developers in my life. This, I feel so happy seeing this because 99.9% of developers are straight up a-holes because they knew the arbitrage of their
Yeah.
understanding was so high that they could be a-holes
Right.
and get away with it. Literally, I worked at places
Same.
where guys just walked out. Like there's a deadline and the guy knew he wasn't gonna make it, so he just walks out and 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 he leaves it to us to fix it. And I'm like, that guy will never work again, that motherfucker. Then I go to another place and he's there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yo, that motherfucker walked out. And again, oh yeah, but we can't fire him because he's like one of the only people that know how to do this shit.
Mhm.
That
Well, I
shit
think
is gone.
it is good. I think what AI is giving us right now is creators version 2.0, where you had content creators who were using regular tools, like you said, whether it's video, photography. We can joke about OnlyFans, but OnlyFans is a great example because those models,
Oh,
they
not
were
even real.
whatever. No, wait, no, no. When they were real, like
Oh,
real,
when
real
they were
girls, real girls. No, no,
real.
real girls. No, seriously, right? No, no, I want to talk about because I bring that up because sex and porn that usually drives innovation, regardless of
Uh,
where you want to talk. Just go through
that's
history, right?
100%.
VHS, DVD, streaming,
Internet
internet,
payment,
internet,
payment
right?
over the internet was because of porn.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, when you look at it from a business perspective, those girls no longer have to go to a video production house. They don't have to be signed by an agent. They've done it all on their own and they've cut out all the middlemen and they collect all the profit themselves. So that's an extreme, right? We talk about the OnlyFans girls,
Yeah.
but they no longer have to subject themselves to secondary mediators. They don't have to handlers, so forth and so on.
All
And
that
I
stuff.
equate this because when I was at Victoria's Secrets in between 2013 and 2015, there was a shift that was happening. If anyone knows about models, models used to have to go through agencies and have head cards. And so those head cards had to be updated. So if a model cut her long hair, made it short,
You
she would
gotta
have
do
to
a
go to modeling,
photographer and all this
yeah,
shit.
she'd have to ask for permission first if she could do it. What happened in Victoria's Secrets while I was there was because Instagram was becoming more prevalent in content creation, these models would cut their hair, and if they got their followers a lot of likes, that was now equity that says, look, my followers, my fans like me with shorter hair. Now they controlled how they looked and they controlled their destiny most likely, and they didn't have to ask
Oh,
permission on how they
wow,
were looking.
wow. That's
They're like,
crazy.
I already got the feedback. I don't need you. I don't need to ask you permission. So now Victoria's Secrets had to shift their business sense was like they had to follow what the models were doing, and they started designing, and we started because I was in the web team and the concept team. We were literally following their followers. So if they got a lot of likes or they had a particular look, like if they went from preppy to like alternative, we styled our website based on the way those models look. And that was just the start of how models and individuals are now taking the power away from big corporations and saying like we don't need that anymore. And so I think with AI, you're going to get even more of this. And my friends who were talking in the film industry were like, this just takes away all the gatekeepers. Anyone who said like, yo, we're not going to make this movie, you're like, well, fuck it, we don't need you anymore. We
A
will put this
thousand
content on YouTube, we
percent.
put it on Vivo, we'll put it anywhere we want. And if we have the audience, now you cannot ignore us anymore. This is what people want. Step away. And we don't need your help anymore because we already built up the brand. Well, we don't need you. We don't need to cut you in 10%,
A
20%.
1000%. But
So I
that's what
think
you
this
said
is,
it.
so I
This is
think
that.
we're in content creation version 2.0, and this is going to continue at an accelerating point where individuals are going to be the people where all the ideas are coming from, you know?
100%. Like literally, look at this shit too. Look at this crazy shit I've been playing with too. So again, I'm playing around with. I
Like why
spent
you
like,
why you feeling that? Like the whole the Bigfoot vlog series that I think I
yeah.
shared with you, or like even
So
the Star Wars, the Stormtrooper vlogs, like that shit is hysterical, dude. Like that's got hundreds of thousands of followers in weeks time.
so
Like, and
look.
everybody's eating that stuff up.
So check this out. When I said, okay, I want to do a Dragon Ball Z style cartoon, I said, all right, but damn, where I'm gonna get the music? Found this shit Suno that fucking Timberland is pumping now. And look at this.
Suno is what?
Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, let me
Is
turn.
it audio?
Yeah, let me go up this and maybe. Can you hear that?
No, I cannot hear it.
Can you hear that?
Nope.
You can't hear it? Fuck. Um, I guess I'm not sure why. Let me check. But basically, you go to this AI and you say, literally, here's what I said. Look, Dragon Ball Z fight music. And it basically made me in 5 seconds. Let me see if I could get the audio to let you hear it. It made me 5 seconds, like multiple tracks with that audio. And then I said, I need some sounds of punches. And you remember how we had to go through and search? Well, you may not have to because you weren't doing animation, you were doing the design.
Mhm.
You had to go and search all kind of stuff for like royalty-free sound effects and music and spend like hours to find the good, like everything. Now, literally in freaking seconds, Mac Audio speakers. Let's see if you can hear it now. Can you hear that?
No.
Fuck. All right, I don't know how to show this. Let's try one more thing. Audio, microphone. Yeah, I don't know. Same as Mac speakers. Yeah, I don't know how to do this. But basically, Suno, go play with it too. Again, this is like $10 a month, I think I paid
Mhm.
on this. This one is another one where it got like, look, crowd reacting to something exciting happening, right? Because what I'm thinking is, right, they're gonna punch and hit each other, and then there's gonna be a crowd with fucking all kind of noise. But again, instead of having to go, again, this is a job for people. It used to be like creating samples and stock footage and stock video, all that stuff was a job. And now, literally, why the hell would you go to a stock site? You can literally get something new, custom to you. You own the rights. So that's the thing with Suno. If you pay, you own the rights to any music you make. And if you I think 11 Labs too. I don't know if you have to pay for 11 Labs, but Suno you definitely have to pay. If you don't pay, you don't own the rights. So again, we're in this time, and then Kling, of course, I showed you
I have
Kling.
a question with Suno, actually, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So if I were to say I want something that sounds similar to this, like could you upload a track and say make me something similar?
Look right here. Upload. Yep, definitely.
And you own that. That's crazy.
Own it. Yep.
Wow.
Shit is crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy, man. And
Hmm.
so I'm talking to my guy who's a big music guy, he managed huge artists. And I'm like, let's make an AI artist. If you look now, there's AI influencers making 20, 30, 50 grand a month. They don't exist. A lot of those girls now that you see on Instagram, they're not real. Those are AI girls that people are going to the OnlyFans of and everything, and it's all AI. And no, and most people do not even know. So like, and Timbaland just signed an AI artist. So again, I think we're heading, like you said, Omar, I think we're in this time where whatever your idea is, there's no more, oh, I can't do it because I don't got the money and I don't got the right team. It's about, okay, am I willing to spend the time to go on these platforms and be a tastemaker, less than learning how to make beats and play instruments, not learning how to be a designer for 20 years, a coder for 20 years, all these things, right? It's like now it's about if I had, let's think about it as I have a top level coder, I have a top level designer, I have a top level music person, XYZ. What would I tell them to do? And literally, these are $8 a month, $20 a month, $15 a month full-time employees. And this is where it gets freaking scary. And this is why, like, also, I keep coming back to this stack thing where it's like, if you don't start buying property right now, whether that's stock, bonds, crypto, real estate, businesses, create businesses, you're really relying on the wages of an industry that may not exist anymore in a few years. And yes, they always say, oh, whole new industries come out when technology like this hits. The difference with this is hitting every industry at the same time. In the past, it was specific. They'll bring up the farming thing. Oh yeah, back in the day, 90% of people were farmers. Yeah, and it hit farmers, but it didn't hit farmers, accountants, lawyers, right? It didn't hit everything at the same time like this is hitting.
Right.
I think the wage thing is much more serious of a discussion. So that means the government is gonna have to step in and give some type of
Universal
government,
income.
right? Right. So that's the universal basic income idea. And again, they're already printing up too much money. So what ends up happening when they print more money for you, universal basic income, they're gonna make the property grow in value again. So it all comes back to property or business, which property is business. So that's partly why I'm doing this. I want to show you guys because I think at the end of the day, whatever you're doing for money right now, this will benefit you the sooner you start playing with it. And I'm gonna start doing live streams when I'm playing with it as well. Like when I'm making these videos, I'm gonna just go on live. I need more content anyway. If somebody wants to sit there and watch me do this shit, fuck it. It's one more person to watch that maybe converts to a customer and maybe learns and I learn from them, you know. So that's another thing I challenge you to do too. Everybody who watches this, start getting comfortable putting your face on camera and talking. I think that's going to be a major differentiator that most people are not going to be willing to do. So if you got an industry full of people not willing to do it and you're one of the few that are, you're just going to get more work than them. And your brand is going to be more powerful, right? Because again, I told you that 13-hour thing. So if you, Omar, you go every day, every week and do a video of you working on some cool design shit. Yeah, in the beginning, you're going to get 2 views. But over time, it grows. And I'm not gonna say you're ever gonna get to millions of views like Mr. Beast, but if you get one customer from doing that,
Why not, dude? No, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, during the pandemic, I was out there shooting photographs every week because I had nothing else to do. And then I just kept posting it 3 times a week. And then people thought I was a photographer and then started hitting me up like, yo, can you do this? Hey, can you write a script? Not a script. Can you do a photo shoot with me? I'm like, well, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. But oh, do you sell prints? Right? Like you said, like it comes with awareness. When people become aware of what you're
no,
doing.
and what's crazy is I remember going to your page and seeing people that knew me that were following your page. And I was
Right.
like, wow, that's crazy because I don't even think they
They knew we connected.
knew
Right.
us, but your page started getting so much awareness that people started following it because it was
Right.
good. So again, that's just photography. Like you said, you weren't even considering yourself a photographer,
No.
but now you are because somebody used to tell me this. If somebody offers you $1 million to be a restaurant owner, then you're a restaurant owner.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So at the end of the day, what you put out is somewhat your brand, right?
Right.
You inadvertently created this brand of a photographer, but now there's this concept I just heard that's fucking awesome. The guy said everybody walks around in this world and they don't realize there's two things inside of them. There's the person and there's the horse that they're riding on. And he said, if you watch out, you will live your life letting the horse guide you wherever it wants to go instead of being the person guiding the horse.
Mm,
And I was like, yo, that's dope. So the
mm.
so the idea now is I think if you're a person that's saying, I want to do this, you need to get on the horse and get on these fucking apps and say, okay, how do I guide myself to that idea becoming a reality? Not to say it's going to happen overnight. And as I used to talk, me and Derek have had many conversations about this. It's going to be hard, but everything's hard. You know what I mean? Like at the end of
Yeah.
the day,
Because if
everything's
it was
hard.
easy, everyone would do it. Right.
Exactly. So the idea is pick your heart and go, you know what I mean? Go like figure out what it is that's going to be the thing that you're gonna enjoy and could possibly make you money. Um, because now we're all fucking Steven Spielberg. We're all, Kanye West, any creator that you look up to and you be like, damn, this shit is kind of dope. They spend decades getting good at that. Now you have, like you just said, Timberland. They upset at Timberland right now because they believe Timberland helped train this model.
Wow.
So he owns part of the company, and what he was doing was he was asking people for beats so he could review them. And they believe he was taking all those beats and putting it in here to train it. So they're like, you're a dirtbag for that. But this is the truth. The fucked up truth about creativity is what do we do? Oh, me and Omar went to the High School of Art and Design. We've been looking at cool shit our whole lives and basing our concepts around the cool shit we saw, right? And we got our style, our design, either subconsciously or consciously from that, from everything we looked at, everything we saw. I remember us passing around black books in school to do our own graffiti, and I'll look, I'm like, oh, that's kind of dope. I'm taking that. I'm using that too, right? So like this is normal in creative world. What they say, creators, what is it? Don't copy, steal or some shit. I forget the
Yeah.
right.
Good.
So
Good
like
artists borrow, great artists steal.
yeah. I think IP's out the window.
Oh yeah. Big time.
IP's out
It's
the.
interesting that you made the Swiss, who you say Swiss Beats created Suno?
So Timberland partnered
Or
with
Timbaland?
people, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what's happening to my brother. My brother does he works at Spotify. He doesn't do anything with music, but he does all the back end stuff. So he will have your profile, like he'll know what you listen to every day of the week. And he sells that information. He works with labels and parcels that information with them so they can better manage, their artists and where their artists are, gaining traction or not. And now he's one of one in Spotify in his little division, which is great. But now he is training AI models based on his own knowledge. That's crazy.
He's
And
training
I
in
was like,
basement.
he was, yeah, but because he has his job security. He's one of one. Like his salary is budgeted into what he does.
What is
And
it? Data
so
science? Is that considered data science?
he's like data science, right? He's
Yeah.
like that, yeah. Because he works with the labels and again he's parceling all this data for them and helping them understand what the data is. And he's just providing more and more data. So it's more complicated than that, and I'm butchering it a little bit because I'm a
No, it
simpleton.
makes sense. I think it's probably like customer success kind of. So he'll
Not
give.
really, because it's also other data metrics that are in there that the label needs. I'm just giving you what he explained to me that I can
Yeah,
regurgitate back
yeah,
to
yeah,
you,
yeah.
clearly. Like he's one of those program guys, just really super smart. You talk to me, you think he's a dick, but he's not. He just knows A, B, no gray areas. Just A or B. That's it. And we get along really well. But in the last 9 months, he's been training, last 9, 10 months, he's been training an AI to do his work based on his knowledge base, like only his knowledge base. And that is fascinating because I'm like, dude, you've had job security for the last 4 or 5 years. What does this mean for you? He's like, well, when my project on training this AI is done, I'm going to try and switch off to another department because they might not need me, or I will monitor in this AI and I will be its supervisor for, whatever time that takes.
That's very true. He could
Yeah.
but I would tell him think a little entrepreneurially and think, is this a product I could sell to other people? You know what I mean? Like the
He
two
will be in jail, dude. You know how much NDAs that is?
that's true.
That's on two ends. It's record label information, secure record label information, and also Spotify information, proprietary information
So
that
that's so
Spotify
so
can sell to
so
the labels.
so that's where again as business owners, you got to think what's the data set I can collect that will be proprietary. So with us, right, with
He can
Stack,
train an AI to do it for record labels and put Spotify out of business. Like
yeah, exactly.
no, but the problem is no one's going to
The
other
label.
labels for music. They're going to Spotify. So Spotify has that unique
Exactly. That's the thing.
stranglehold.
Spotify knows the real data. If you don't
Right.
have Spotify, but again, the labels own Spotify though. So at the end of the day,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, in a sense.
so like for us with Stack, my data is I've been watching wallets for 2 years. People with $1 million, people with $10, and now all that data I could train an AI on, and no other business has that data other than us. So for us, that is a data set that we can monetize. What we're doing now is we're sending an AI to say, okay, look at this and see what patterns you see that may be better than what we're doing right now. Right. So again, this kind of world, and this is why I brought up the Lovable, is because I think a lot of people don't think they can do the high-end tech stuff. They just think, oh yeah, yeah, I could just make a website. That's the highest end tech most people want to go to. But that data science stuff you're talking about with your brother,
Right.
you could start kind of doing it with Lovable. And this literally what I'm doing right here. Like if you look, what am I doing here? I'm like taking the data sets that I know we collect on a fucking per second basis on every wallet and saying, I should show this to our customers because we have it, but I'm not even able to see it because we don't have the infrastructure and the data science and the visualization for us to see it. So let's make it clear for the customer and ourselves, and then have an AI look into it as well. So that's where, again, I personally was going to do this once we made like $1 million. I was going to say, all right, now I got enough money to hire a data scientist, but I'm playing with it myself for this is $20, $15 a month. And I'm able to just talk to it like I'm talking to a person. So at the end of the day, I'll end here. But part of what I want you guys to take away from it, and my challenge to you this week is pick one of these fucking tools and start playing with them. You can there's a free one, there's a free version of every one of them. Start playing with them for your goal. Say, all right, my goal, I know Swift, your goal You want to create a sneaker brand. Okay, what does that mean? Is there like some type of brand, like now they have the audio brand where like um the Intel sound, like dun dun dun, right? Shit
Well,
like
what's
that,
his narrative? Like again, he's not selling a brand. He's got to sell a lifestyle, you know?
lifestyle. So yeah,
So
I
that's
think
what it
part of
is. No one's selling products anymore. Everyone's selling a particular lifestyle. I mean, SUVs, Nike was the first. SUVs take it. Most people who buy SUVs are still driving in the city, but they're selling the lifestyle of an outdoor rugged lifestyle that people want to aspire to. So when Derek is coming up with sneaker brands, like what's lifestyle is he trying to make people aspire to? Like, you know? So
I want them to have a it's basically a luxury brand, upscale. The problem is I'm looking at I'm listening to all this stuff about AI and I'm like everyone's gonna lose their job. Is it realistic that to
there's still
create
gonna be rich
a
people
luxury
though.
footwear brand that you're selling sneakers for upwards of 300 $400
So
at you know what I mean at this time within the next couple of years? Is that realistic?
I
That's where
think
my mind
everything
is going.
I think everything is realistic, man. I mean, I heard you guys last week when you guys talked about, the Airbnb, and I said no because for everyone who's replaceable, losing their jobs, you still have the very luxurious sector that still will have income, and you still have those people during a recession have not stopped spending their money on luxury goods. So if you go back to 2008, and some other of these bumps that we've had, or the pandemic, the very wealthy and the luxury brands did not take a great hit as like say the people on our level and the
they
medium level
actually made
brands.
money, right?
They're still making money. They're still because their interest is compound. So they still want money spent on it. They still were traveling to luxurious places. They weren't cutting back on discounted hotels. They were still traveling at the most luxurious spots in the world because those luxurious spots were still accommodating those very wealthy clientele. So I think you still have a shot. And I don't think that AI is gonna cripple all job sectors in the next 5 years. I think that's going to be a trickle down effect that's going to take a little longer than maybe when Miguel's kids are like exiting college. I think we have a longer time than that because, as Miguel said, I think there's enough parameters in place that either the government's going to have to step in on a small level for, remedial workers, like factory workers, or
Hmm.
you're going to have again that the people who are now taking up this content creation are going to be generating income, and so they're still going to have disposable income. So
I
I
also
would still shoot for the stars, and until your shit does not go anywhere, then you can call it, you can throw in the towel. But until then, shoot for the stars, dude. Like there's no hurt in that game.
I
I also
appreciate it.
there will always
Yeah.
be rich people, always, right?
What?
So and you don't need this is
But
again.
your sneaker game could be to luxurious people, but there's always military contracts. Those, I shit you not. Nike and Under Armour, man, they're all part of the military now,
Oh
So
yeah,
like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, they all make the combat boots. So both of them, and they both
Oh,
That's
supply
crazy. I
the
didn't know that.
the WEC Tech gear, because I do snowboarding too. So like they are in snowboarding, but they're also military. All of my gear was first made for military applications, and now they're made for snowboarding applications. They're kind of like they wick away sweat when you're in the cold temperatures. They keep you warm. Everything's lighter fabric, thinner fabric. It's a crazy, crazy cycle of how you think of a brand in one aspect, and then you dig a little deeper and you realize that they've got a lot of other contracts under their belt. And so
that's another thing I realized that I didn't realize till very recently is most of the biggest companies in the world, this because they have government contracts.
yeah, a lot of them.
Like if again, I don't really want to do that for Stack, but the overall idea is you might want to do it. But the what you come back to with the luxury is goes back to your
It's your premium
only need a
materials.
thousand people.
Mm.
If
Hmm.
let's say you charge $300 a shoe and you get 1,000 people, that's $300,000. You know what
Yeah,
I
true.
mean? Like and there's
$300 not even luxury. That's like base price for sneakers now, right? I mean, shit.
Yeah,
I think the
I
average
wanted to
sneaker is like
charge.
100, $150. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, Skechers are starting to charge $100 plus for sneakers, and
shit.
it's like that's crazy.
I bought $150 New Balance.
No,
So
you
Well,
didn't.
but New Balance though, New Balance is on a little bit of a run right now.
I know they are. I see them on all the like the young people. I'm like, what the hell is this?
yeah,
Yeah,
friends are like,
yeah,
you
they
gotta
have
get
some
these,
dope
you gotta
New
get these.
Balance.
I'm like, why? They're like, these are the good ones. And I was like, all right. 150? What the fuck?
Nah, I
I think
can't.
I
I
spent
can't.
200. I think I spent 230 on a pair of New Balance.
Holy.
Wow, New
Yeah,
Balance. The only
but
time I
they
see
they're
New Balance is like the retirees at my gym.
But that is a
they're
good.
super comfortable and they're designed. You ever heard of a designer called Salehi?
No.
He's the one that he's the guy that he makes Crocs that actually people wear.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
he's go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
so think about what you just said. Like this is a very interesting fucking thing to study.
Hmm.
Or just said it. New Balance is for old people in the gym, but they switched their fucking brand to now we're
Mm-hmm.
paying luxury prices somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Study how the fuck that happened. Like,
Yeah.
I think every brand is getting a resurgence though. You know, I think the young kids they find something that's kind of like cheap and affordable. They rock it. It becomes trendy, like Carhartt. You know, like that's used to be in the Home Depot. Now you got the young kids rocking that shit left and right, and now you see them in like the hype beast
that's true.
The
locations.
crazy thing about Carhartt, I was just in Williamsburg on Friday, and I was walking over to this restaurant called Sweet Chick,
Yep.
and I passed a new Carhartt store. I'm like, why does the Carhartt store look like a Prada store? It looks luxury, high end.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
this is Carhartt. This is work gear.
Literally for like construction
Yeah,
workers.
Yeah,
working gear,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. That's so crazy. But Mike, I put in the link. I put the sneakers so you can see which ones I was talking
Oh yeah, let
about.
me see these.
Yeah.
Because I was in when I moved. Oh shit, those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
You said so
Oh, I see
today,
what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, like they took up, they're taking a page out of Nike. You know, they finally caught up, which is great. It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
labs with designers, right? That's what.
Yeah,
It's exactly what it is.
good
Yeah,
for
so
them.
I think this
And
is
they super comfortable.
we live in the internet age, and all you need if you get 1,000 people to buy from everywhere in the world, that's not too hard to ask. Yes, it's a marketing challenge, though. That's the big everything comes down to a marketing challenge. How do you get
Yeah.
this in front of enough people where you get 2,000? That's the trick. That's the
Hmm.
trick. And again, the hard part with physical is sometimes it's a one-time thing though. So you might need to get a new 1,000 every year. So
Mm.
that's why you come out with new versions, right? This is why fashion, you mentioned it, somebody mentioned it, fashion goes back. It loops because these design companies, they keep changing shit and they go back around. So every year you feel like you got to buy some new shit. That's their business.
Yeah.
So that's why it keeps going back to the 90s and you tight, baggy,
Hmm.
because it's like them slowly changing over years. So it keeps coming back over and over again. But that's where, oh shit, this is a fucking, I think this is a Shopify site. That's
With the
crazy.
New Balance.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Shopify.
And Mike, Mike, I sent over a YouTube video. I wanted you to look at it because I'm starting to watch these videos like to read and relax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this has to have been made and using the programs that you're talking about. So
Um,
I just wanted you to look at it really quick, just to tell me if I'm mistaken.
oh no, 1,000%.
I'm gonna start making these.
What is it? What's the audio? Let me see what the audio is.
It's just like soothing sounds.
Ah, yeah, 100%. This is, you know what this is? They went to Midjourney.
Hmm.
All right, they went to Midjourney.
Are we watching this together? What are we doing? This is the sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw it.
No, it's loaded. Oh shit, there it is.
Yeah,
This
right.
helps you go to sleep, Derek. Is that what you're saying?
It does help with that too.
Okay.
Look,
But I like to watch them while I'm reading.
Oh,
They have a bunch of different ones.
look, Derek. When you move it real fast, you can see the loop. Look at it. Look at it.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
basically a small loop, right? So what they do is they go to Midjourney, say
mm.
create a space scene with a pool, right? Whatever, right? And then they go to Kling. They take it and they move it into Kling, and they say create a loop in Kling. And yeah, then maybe they even go to Suno and make the fucking sound. And they just loop, they keep looping it.
Yeah.
And again, these type of things, they make money on YouTube. Look, this got 137,000 views. This person probably made a few $1,000s off
From
this.
YouTube,
Yeah.
right?
2 weeks. Yep.
Mm. Good for
So,
him.
I was thinking of doing this with lo-fi. There's a whole this lo-fi, I don't know if you heard of this lo-fi right here. Um,
I know exactly what you're talking
We've been
about.
studying with like hip hop that's not like It's instrumental, but it's like probably like 90s style shit that's like
Hmm.
not too, you know, fucking heavy banging and shit, but it's like
Hmm.
simple and people just listen to the shit while they're doing homework. Look, 1.2
Yeah.
million views. So yeah, I have been thinking about this, but it's funny I actually own lo-fi dot hip hop dot
That's crazy.
whatever because I got the hip hop thing.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, you might have just woke up another beast in me. I had to throw some of these up. I
Now
think
I'm gonna
uh,
don't be surprised if I'm showing you one of these that I created next week on this call.
I'm pretty sure I took the hip hop, lo-fi hip hop, something. I took one of the names to do it. Look, these look, oh, and people what they do is they stream them all day. So like this woman, it's a loop, and she's basically has 27,000 people right now just watching this. She got 15 million subscribers. Look, they're chatting in the room while they do their homework. Mad though. So this is the kind of stuff like I'm saying, like there is going to be business opportunities. Like
Hmm.
this is pretty easy to create now. Again, the more competition, we'll see. But this person, they sell merch, all that shit.
That's crazy.
Don't even exist. Faceless channel, streams all day long. So, all right, guys. Thanks for coming through. And definitely hit me up in the chat, I mean in the community, or you guys know me, so you can text
Yep.
me. But I kind of want to bulk up the community more because now more people are joining, and I don't really feel like I'm giving enough of this kind of stuff during the week. So I'm trying to put more stuff in there and create more conversation. So if you have questions around any of this stuff while you're doing it, Derek, put it in there for me.
Okay.
And then I'll
Wait,
answer
where do you want me to put it? Where do you want me to send it to you?
in the school community. In school, you go through
Ah,
school
got you.
or no? You don't go into school, do you?
I haven't really,
All right. So how do
but
you get
I'll start. I'll go in and put my questions in.
all right, good looking out. Cause yeah, my goal is to like people learn off each other and help each other during this time, figure out what the next thing is. And Jason, you too. I know you're working on the solar stuff, but I don't know if content can help you in any way. Maybe I definitely challenge you guys to turn on that camera and talk on camera, man. I think that is gonna be the game changer. You got any questions, Jason?
Yeah, I've been thinking about making more content around commercial solar because I think there's a huge lack of knowledge out there for business owners. And so I started a TikTok account. I've never been on that before. But
I'll tell you, this is what I tell you. This is what I tell you. There's two things that I've learned, and again, research it yourself as well. That whole 13-hour thing, right? So if you try to make 13 hours of content that people will consume on TikTok, it works for like low cost or like free type content conversion. But if you got higher end stuff, which yours is not high, yours is high end, but they don't have to pay out of pocket, right? They just need to know about it.
yeah, it's more informational. I mean, it's big dollar. I mean, I quoted a $1.1 million project the other day, so they're big projects.
So maybe TikTok does work for you, but what I keep hearing is long form on YouTube is the shit. It
Got
converts
it.
more than anything. So what even if that's just you right now in the current view that you have, and you're just talking about what you do, people are blowing up like that, where they just
Okay.
a conversation to the camera around what they do, like a speech, and you do 20 minutes every few days. You what YouTube is getting really good at is finding people who are interested and showing them your content. And then if they sit and watch 20 minutes of you multiple times, they'll be like, let me hit up Jason. See what, you also should have some type of lead magnet, they call it, where it's like, go and download my 3-step guide,
Right.
and capture their email and stuff like that. I do that with Stack. I get like 5 customers a week like that.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm not even doing YouTube yet. I got to get YouTube going. I'm starting to. This is part of my process of getting comfortable again on camera. So
What are you using now to get the 5 customers a week?
I have this thing here. It's called Instantly. And what Instantly does is it it tracks the traffic and where they come from. So like, look, I'll show you, like this past month had 4 leads, but 40 people dropped in, and then 4 leads came through the month. It was only 2 weeks in, right? Last month, let me look at last month, had 9 leads, right? So, but then they look, 4 conversions, meaning 4 people got on a call with me around it, but 142 landed on the page,
Hmm.
9 gave me their email, and then 4 called me, right? So this is like a service that my go-to-market coach owns, actually. So that's the thing, right? I met this go-to-market coach because he has YouTube videos. He was like, look, I help customers, I help SaaS founders get more leads. So I was like, all right, I need that. So I joined his program, and now I'm using his software. So again, it all came through me watching his long form stuff on YouTube. So and then where it goes to is like if you go to stackitai.guide, it lands here. And I'm always updating this because I feel like this is part of more people land and convert, then I'll have more numbers. So I gotta get more landings, and then more conversions, and then more phone calls. So I gotta work on each part of that funnel and grow those numbers of percentages. And that's the work of every business, to be honest. Get more leads, get more conversions, and then just keep growing it, you know? So Instantly is the company. It's called Instantly dot is oh no, Instant Landing dot page.
Okay.
I guess he just changed it. It used to be called Instantly. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Um, yeah, and any questions, hit me up in the school community as well about it, and let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Thanks for guys for coming and contributing. I'm gonna upload this, send it in the newsletter and in the community, and keep growing one customer at a time. Let's keep doing it. Thank
Word
you.
up. All right. That is.
Peace.
See ya.